Hey guys, Gordon Cockerpunk here, calling this video Beer and Authority. Because I think I'm going to add this. I think this will go well with my subscribers. Just a short little beer review, whatever I'm drinking. If I tend to be drinking something different. I haven't had this one in a while, but it's very good. This is from Goose Island Brewery in Chicago. It's called 312. I used to call it 312, but then somebody from Chicago yelled at me about it. Evidently, it's an area code or something like that. It's an urban wheat. That's what they call it, urban wheat ale. And it's quite light, but it's got a very smooth kind of taste with almost a quite kind of sweet ending. It's kind of like Blue Moon, but far less so. Like Blue Moon's very sweet, very sugary. This is a little bit more mellow, but it has a lot of the same flavors, and it's quite a good, easy drinking beer. It's considered a summer ale, an English style summer ale. So it's it's what you come out of the farm field and drink, after harvesting or working on the pulling weeds or whatever you do as a farmer. I'm not a farmer. So that's 312. Good beer, delicious, good to drink. So on to Authority. Now, this recently came up, and it's a logical fallacy that is one of my biggest pet peeves, which is an argument from authority. An argument from authority is when you say in an argument, yeah, well, so-and-so says this, and that's supposed to be a compelling point. The problem with this is twofold. Number one, if they don't have the same respect for that person or thing or entity or deity that you do, then the point is moot. And number two, in the specific context of a technical or scientific argument, authority means nothing. Scientists make their name proving each other wrong. So there's no judge. There's no there's no like ultimate authority in science or in technical matters. There's only what the data says and what we can prove. And so when I find, and this is what prompted this video, proponents of Punkworks and the work we do say things on the forums like, yeah, well, Punkworks tested it and they say this. That is a twofold problem. Number one, the person you're arguing with probably doesn't know who we are, because if they did, then they'd probably have this argument with somebody else. So they don't recognize us as an authority. And number two, we don't want to be recognized as an authority. That's not the point of what we do. It's disappointing to me because it betrays that poster's lack of understanding of what we do. Because the actual compelling point is this. Alright, here's a few ideas. Say we're talking about barrel accuracy. Here's a few things that we think could affect accuracy that is in the design of barrels. Surface finish, control bore length, one piece, two piece, porting patterns, overbore, underbore, whatever variable you want to look at. And then you say, so these guys Punkworks did a test about that, and here's the data, and from the data we can conclude then that this didn't have an effect, or this did have an effect, or whatever. And I know that post is much harder to write. It's much easier to say, Punkworks tested it, but it betrays your own lack of understanding, and it does no service to the actual point you're making. So what you have to do is understand the science before you start to argue for the science. And when you do argue for the science, you have to do it in a non-authoritative way. So we tested this. We think this because of it. Instead of, these guys that are well respected say this, or Mike says this, or God says that, or Newt Gingrich says this, or Joe Obama, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's an authority. NCAA says this. It doesn't matter who it is. the merit of the argument has nothing to do with who said it. It has to do with what supports it. So I was kind of disappointed when I saw recently that a lot of Punkworks proponents were arguing from the standpoint of Punkworks says this, they know this, they tested it. That doesn't really, that isn't effective, is what I'm trying to say. What is effective is knowing the science for yourself and being able to say things, we thought this, we tested this, and it turns out we were wrong, or we were right. And that's an actual scientific argument, a real technical argument. And what I find is a lot of times, not every time, if you can keep the subject on the technical matters, the thread doesn't just train wreck into a blah, you're a blah, 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 and I'm a blah, 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 and just bullshit, right? So, like I said, I was kind of disappointed, and that's what kind of prompted this video. I was disappointed in the, hello, focus on something. I was just kind of disappointed that a lot of my fans, which I'm very thankful we have a lot of fans, but I was disappointed in the presentation of our work, and I think it does us a disservice, it does you a disservice, it does the entire purpose to why Punkworks is here a disservice if you say something like, Cockapunk says this. What I say doesn't really matter. What I base my opinion on is what matters, and that's why we publish all of our data. That's why we publish all of our methods. We're very open about everything like that. If you want more information, PM us, talk to us, whatever. There's plenty of, we're willing to talk to anybody. And I definitely enjoy, like that's the point of Punkworks as a forum, is to get a conversation going. Let's think of new statistical measures and a better statistical measures of accuracy. Let's evaluate, let's discuss the testing conclusions. So often in Punkworks threads, what ends up happening is somebody posts, or one of us posts some data, and then somebody says, well, what won? What was the worst? What was the best? That's not the point of the test. We post all the data so that anybody can make the same conclusions that we think we can make off the data. And if you don't agree with our conclusions, that's fine, as long as you have an actual reason to do it. If you can find reason in our data and argue with us about what our data means, I would love that. That's actually what we do this for, right? This isn't a quest for authority, or I don't want my word to be taken as gospel, or Punkworks' name to be, that's not the point. It's a process, and understanding the components of the process is more important than the conclusions of the process. So, what does this mean? Number one, 312, 312, delicious. Number two, I hope in the future a lot of my subscribers and Punkworks followers can understand that you have to break it down to the actual mechanics. You can't just say, Cockapunk says this, Bryce says that, they tested it. I know that's easy, but science isn't easy. It's about being right. And if you're wrong, then the way to do it is to prove yourself wrong, or have somebody prove you wrong, not, well, he says this. So, hopefully, in my incoherent ramblings, I somewhat reached a point. I'm glad, though, that we do have the respect that we do. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful we have so many followers and whatnot. I just wish the discussion would stay on the topic of the data and not authority figures. And this goes for everything, in my opinion. Arguments from authority are worthless in any argument. Who cares what someone says or who they are? What matters is why they say it. The merit of their argument is more important than who says it. That's just how the world should work, even if it doesn't. I know it doesn't, which is infinitely frustrating. But you get my point. Anyway, stay tuned for more updates, and check out Goose Island if you get a chance. It's an easy drinker, and relatively sweet, like I was saying. There are some beers that I definitely do not recommend for beginners. This one, very much a beginner's beer. Sweet and delicious. Good intro. So, talk to you guys later.